Hi everyone, I'm Grady Locklear, and this is my fourth speech. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about content strategy. You can read ahead if you like, but this is just sort of a basic outline. If you can read it, good for you, your eyes are better than most. So what does it mean to be a content strategist? I'm one. It says so on my business card. But what does that actually mean? It's a question that some of my colleagues and I have been grappling with for a little bit of time, including Eric. Because the content team at Wagner Redstrom has always done content well. So that means video, stories, articles, blog posts, infographics, everything that we try to, all this multimedia that we try to do. But PR has changed a lot in the last decade. And content itself is not enough. We need strategy at every step of the way. And strategy is creating a business impact with everything that we do. And we know that content strategy done well increases customer loyalty, it builds word of mouth momentum, and at the end of the day, it drives sales. So what this looks like in real life is what I'm going to try to introduce you to today. So it begins with defining a brand's message and the storyline, choosing platforms, evaluating content, creating content, and then managing and maintaining the content, and finally, analysis. Those are the major steps. So we have to begin with messaging. Content begins with a messaging framework or a brand storyline. If you think about your brand has to have a message, and you have to have something you stand for. Red Bull is a great example of that. If you go to their Facebook page, you'll almost never find a photo that includes a can of Red Bull. That's not what their story is about. Their story is about, they always show pictures of people doing active or extreme sports. That's what they're about, and so that's what their storyline is. And then you have to pick your target audience. Your storyline is who we are, what do we care about, and your target audience is who do we care about, and who are we trying to tell this story to. You have to do that well. One of my film professors in college told me, you can take a good movie script and turn it into a terrible movie. But you can never take a terrible script and turn it into a good movie. It's not possible. So you have to start with a good story, or else no matter what you do with your content strategy, it will fail. The next aspect is to choose your platform. So you have a story to tell, and now you have to figure out how are we going to tell that story. You know your audience is, and so you have to do a little research and some thinking into what do they like to do? Where are you going to find them? Do they like viewing video stuff? Do they love images like those Red Bull fans? They love seeing pictures, photos, videos of all these extreme sports. That's what really connects with them. So you try to find out what are the key platforms going to be that's going to keep them engaged. And one critical element of that is called being platform agnostic. And that means that not every type of content is going to come across the same way. You have people that are going to be on their cell phone, or on their tablet watching video, or they'll be online, or maybe they'll be on TV watching a show and they see an advertisement come through. That's all part of your story. And you have to find out where do people spend their time and how do you reach them. And of course, once you do that, you have to do SEO, search engine optimization, and make sure that your content is always discoverable. So that's the second stage. The third is evaluating your content. Most brands have already been creating content for a while. You have a Facebook page, or you have a website. There's something that you've already been working on, and so at the evaluation stage, you go through and you think, how is this really fitting in with our brand message? Should we reconsider? And the second aspect of that is thinking about what you need to update or fix. And the third is thinking about, it's called a gap analysis. You figure out, now that we know what we already have, and we know what needs to be changed or revised, now what are we missing? Is there an aspect of our story that we haven't told yet? That's the gap analysis, and that's the third aspect of evaluating your content. And so you define these benchmarks for how are we going to be segmenting all of that out. Now the fourth part is once you're there, you can begin creating content. And that's the fun part. That's the creative part. That's where you go through, are we going to tell a story? Sure, here's what we're going to do it. And we often have static content, so that's something like a website. It stays there, it lasts a long time. And then you have dynamic content, which is periodical things, articles, videos, tweets, Facebook posts. It lasts for a few days, and then nobody really looks at them anymore because it keeps cycling through. We usually maintain an editorial calendar to define how we're going to do that. The calendar is full of all these different events throughout the year. You have holidays, you have July is Oregon Craft Brewers Month. You find these things throughout the year, and you think, well, so how do we take our storyline and then fit it within the structure, lost my lights here, See, these things happen. When the lights went out of the Super Bowl, Oreo jumped on that with these advertisements, and they made some sort of joke or a pun. So it's being reactive and figuring out how do we respond to these things throughout the year. Now, once we've created content, we have to manage the content lifecycle. Like I said, we have these periodic articles, blog posts, whatever, tweets, Facebook stuff. Throughout the year, we maintain that, but also you have to realize that after a couple of years, your website content even is going to be out of date. You have to think about how you're going to refresh that. So you set up these processes to make sure that it's all updated and it's all going to be relevant and it's all going to still fit in your storyline. So now that you have these workflows and processes in place, we get to the final step, which is analysis. And analysis is when it's really a key component of content strategy, because a good content strategy is an investment. It's a business investment. To do it well, you have to spend money on it. But once you spend money on something, you need to have a payoff. That's the strategic side of it. You have to think, what is the end result? With a lot of social media, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, you want people to respond to things, comment, like, whatever it might be. If you're doing a blog post, you want to get comments. You want to get people engaged with it. With a website, you might want to just track the number of visitors, and then you want to see how long are they staying there on the site. Do they read it? Do they watch the video all the way through from start to finish? You can track all of that. That's how we define these analysis measurements. And what that does is that brings us back to every step along the way. This analysis informs what we do. So we analyze these things and we think, what could we be doing better? Maybe if we go back to step one here with our messaging, maybe our core messaging just isn't resonating. Our analysis can show us that. We can think, well, maybe we haven't thought through how to define our message, our story. At any point along the way, we can decide which one of these things needs to be tweaked, adjusted, something we can do to make it better. So that takes it full circle, and that's an introduction to content strategy. We don't do all of this for every client. We often do just little bits and pieces for each one. But over time, we want to be innovative and come up with unique ways to bring value to them, where if they're investing in a content strategy, they get something out of it. And that's the ultimate goal, and it starts with telling a story.